Now, the third story I want to talk to you about, I actually love this one because it's not a slam dunk victory. It's actually, it stunk. Like it was a real rotten experience. And I'm overdoing it a bit, but I love presenting. And as I've told you, I've evolved to the point where I love getting in front of a group. And this is probably going back about 8 years. So I'm actually in this role as the VP of Reebok. And I'm at Grey Cup. I think it was in Ottawa. I can't be sure. And I got invited to speak to, here's what I knew. I got invited to speak to a group of executives from the CFL clubs about a before-school fitness program that we were launching with Reebok and the CFL in partnership. That's all I knew. So I go in and I prep it all and I do the presentation. And like, I was not feeling it through the presentation. And when I finished, I was so disappointed in myself. It sucked. And I sat there and I thought to myself, okay, let's play this back. Let's dissect this and figure out what went wrong here. And I realized there were two things that I came up with that to me were like the obvious things. It's like you slap yourself in the head after. First thing is, someone else created the presentation and I, got it on a USB stick and went off to the conference with it. And it wasn't my voice. It wasn't my way of thinking. Like the sequencing of it, it was not logical to me. So I had this self-talk going on as I'm trying to tell this story. It's not even making sense to me. And I'm sure that came across to the people I'm talking to. The second piece though and I would say this is a very personal thing for me. I realized I didn't know who was in the audience. I didn't know what their roles were. I didn't know why they were even there. Like I knew they were with CFL clubs, but what I failed to realize was these were people who were in the community outreach arms of those organizations. A lot of them were doing work in grassroots efforts in the community. And I thrive on understanding the audience and shaping my story so that it's relevant and so that it resonates with them. And I totally blew it because I didn't know who they were. I didn't know what they cared about. I didn't know what their objectives were. And therefore I was kind of just, it was not a terrible presentation, but it didn't connect. There was no emotion. There was no empathy, no understanding of why they were there or what they were trying to achieve. And so it really ended up just being me dumping a bunch of information and no impact to the story or limited impact. And so I think the thing I take away from that is one of my worst presentations ever, one of my best learning experiences, because often I see this on the other side, on the receiving end. People think about the story they want to pitch and what they want to get out of it. Don't start there. That's the last thing. Start with who your audience is. Go into their shoes and think about what is on their mind. What have they just come from? Have they come from another meeting? Or do they have 20 things on the go? Or did they just go through some type of reorganization in their company? And is that what they're coming to this presentation or this meeting with? And then figure out, how do you build off that? How do you address that? How do you give it some space? How do you show empathy for it? Because then you connect. And then you get to your message. And of course, you will end up getting to your message or delivering your pitch, but you're going to do it in a way that creates a win-win. And they're going to feel like, okay, this person has seen me as a human. They've understood some part of what I'm trying to do. I want to work with them. I want to try and meet them halfway now. So you've already built some credibility and some common ground with that. So I love telling that one because it was not a rousing, there was no applause after that presentation. It was not a real feel-good one. But I still go back to it as probably one of the most beneficial stories I told or mistold, I guess, that I still learn from today.